Our first guest this evening is Terrence Lamont, Thomas Jefferson, Simon, Roosevelt, Moore.
Nice.
I don't know. You go so many fucking names.
Nice.
What are you drinking?
I is drinking a margarita, man. A Creature of Habit 1800, little Grand Marnier.
Nice.
I'm classy.
Nice.
I'm classy.
There's something about a warm day where a margarita just feels appropriate.
100%. Or sitting under hot lights, that too.
Yeah, that's what I meant by a warm day.
Exactly.
We are indoors after all.
Mm-hmm.
I am drinking a spicy watermelon margarita.
Which is outstanding.
It's so good. And we took Cuervo Silver tequila and we infused it with the jalapeno.
Yep. Let it sit for, well,
Yeah,
by choice.
a little simply watermelon juice. Although usually we take fresh watermelon
Yes.
and make juice out of it, but I was lazy, so
You're lazy then.
I bought watermelon juice.
Nice.
So anyway, I have got an awesome topic for today.
Please, hype it up.
Are you ready?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Are you ready?
Hit me with your best shot.
All right. So, because I've been thinking a lot about this recently, in particular, but let me see the best way to be phrasing this. It's this notion and this idea of who you are versus who you believe yourself to be. And so if you had to think about, I believe myself to be this person, but actually I am this person. Do you understand what I mean? Because I can give you an example. I can give you an example that maybe might help.
But I think I know what you're asking. Like, has there ever been a moment of discovery where I recognize that I've been thinking that I'm type person, but it turns out I'm a different type of person?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought that's what you were asking.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I think that could work. Let's see where that goes. Go ahead, answer that question.
No, that's not your question. Tell me what your question is.
I think it is. I think it is. Well, like one of the things I think about, and this has happened in real life, where we have known someone who is single,
Right.
and they're well into their 30s, early 40s, and still single.
And never been married.
And never
Right.
been married. That's correct. Never really been in a long-term relationship either.
You sound like a keeper.
Right.
Sorry.
And when he describes the type of woman that he wants to be with, I think frequently you and I are both puzzled by it. Because it's like,
Well, yeah,
you
because
want
he was
to,
hyping up the type of woman he thought he could get.
This is what I mean.
Oh, well, that's different. I was
You
way off.
believe yourself
Yeah.
to be the type of person who should be with that woman.
Exactly.
But the reality is that you are this person, and you should be
Exactly.
looking at this type of woman.
100%.
But they don't want to see themselves in that way.
Right.
And so I guess that's where the question is really kind of coming from, just from a personal
Do I think I deserve
perspective.
you? Was that the question? Did I feel like I upgraded?
I don't need an answer to that.
No,
we already know the
what
answer.
is the question, though?
But that is the question. Like, was there a time, and I can answer it first if that helps, because I have a very specific time. But the question is that, like, was there ever a time where you felt like, oh yeah, this is who I am, and then you realize, you know what? It's actually really not.
Yes.
And
yes.
I need to be truer to who I am rather than trying to project something else.
100%. I mean, yeah, I got a couple examples, and I'm a person who I believe I've been the same person since I was born. But there did come a time whenever I was married where I recognized this is not who I am. These are not the places I want to go to. This is not the function that I want to have. And just that moment of realization, because, when I'm thinking about this, I'm like, it wasn't about my divorce of sorts, was not so much about the woman I was married to as much as it was about who I was when I was with her. And I think that's a huge factor whenever you start discovering, like, I'm not this type of person. So I think that's the easiest example.
So, but can you say what some of those things were? What some of those qualities were?
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, I think, in it, like I said, I have no problem saying it because it didn't have anything to do with her specifically. I think we began to build a life that looked a little bit more middle class, bougie black than I really want to be around. You know what I mean? So the places we went, the people who were filling our circle, where, in the end, I mean, I still come from a poor family that wants to sit around and talk shit and drink. You know what I mean? So all of a sudden, and I never forget, there was one time, oh my God, I feel like this was the discovery where I never forget, we went to Shark Bar in New York on Amsterdam Avenue. If you lived in New York at the time, you remember that spot because that was the bougie Negro spot. And it was like, I remember sitting around with a bunch of friends, people that we knew that we thought were friends, and they were drinking. Bunch of guys are drinking like Cosmos and shit, and I'm just like, first of all, when we first got there, everyone was like, "Oh, let's just get some wine," and I'm sitting there going, "Damn, I fucking want some Makers on the rocks," like But I found myself going, "Yeah, let's do it." Like, I'm not a big wine drinker, but I found myself going along with things that were not me.
But did you believe yourself to be that person? Because that for me is the difference. So you believed,
I believed,
oh no, this is me. This is the life I want. And
yes,
okay, because that's, I think, the key.
And that's what it was. I was trying to fit into a suit that was actually not cut for me.
Right.
And that's the only way I can, like.
Good way to put it.
Thanks. It just came out of my ass. That's the only way I can think.
I don't doubt that.
That's the only way I can think about it. Like I said, that had nothing to do with my ex-wife. That has something to do more to do with how I felt that I was positioning myself. Like, oh, I'm of a certain age. This is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to sit down and we have sparkling water and drink wine, and they're going to bring out a bunch of appetizers and we're going to share. And I don't share shit when it comes to food. And it was just like, so when I look back on it, I go, based off your question, that was a moment where I recognized, I don't remember the moment where I said, you know what, screw this, because there were so many other emotional things that are connected to a divorce. Yeah. But I do recognize that was a point in my life where if I walked into that bar, if I got in a DeLorean and went back to that year and walked into that bar and saw that dude sitting there, like, that dude's a fucking douchebag. Who's drinking wine? Who drinks Perrier? Like, who are you?
Outside of France, who's drinking Perrier?
I'm trying to be classy.
Or Europe. Europeans drink Perrier, but they're all pretentious.
I hope that fits the description. What about you? Has there ever been a moment where you go,
yeah, for sure.
Like, oh no, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Mine was when I actually was living in California when I first moved to California by myself. And I believed that I was an honest person, and then I recognized that I wasn't.
Oh, okay. I need it. Like, when you say honest person, like you lied?
Like, I don't think...
To yourself or to others?
I think both potentially.
Gotcha.
I think both potentially. Again, it goes back to this idea of projecting something that wasn't real.
Right.
Like when I think about... in a variety of different circumstances, I do remember there was a singular moment in time where I felt like, okay, I'm gonna turn a corner right now. I'm gonna be completely and totally true to my being and to who I am, and that's, I think, what I mean by becoming honest.
But were you? Let me ask you this. But when you say, in my example, I had to stop trying to be bougie and just embrace my ghetto, because that's what I was. In the heart of hearts, I'm a poor working class kid. So I'm like, so I was embracing who I was. Were you really truthful, or did you have to go through some type of discovery to figure out? Did you look at yourself and go, damn, I'll be lying, or I'm being dishonest, so I need to become a more honest person?
Yeah, I think absolutely.
So that's interesting.
Yeah, I think absolutely that was it. And this is going to feel like such an incredibly California moment.
Laying on the beach, eating avocados.
But this is truly what happened. So I was out with a friend. And in this moment, I got to be honest with you, I don't even remember really where we were. Somewhere, it doesn't matter where we are. I don't really remember, actually. And I remember that we might have been at some kind of like outdoor fair of some kind or whatever. And there was a woman there, and she was selling like these necklaces with crystals on them. And she was big on crystals and the healing power of crystals. California. It's very California, right? But there was one in particular that I really liked and I thought was really, really kind of pretty, the shape of it and everything. And so I asked her about it. I said, what is the significance of this one? And she said, this is about truthfulness and honesty.
Oh my God, this is by far the most California thing I've ever heard of.
Right? And so, believe me,
okay.
I recognize
this understands
this
why we've been
well.
Together damn near 20 years. I've never heard this fucking story. Please continue.
I didn't want to scare you away.
God, what the hell?
And so I bought it I bought it, and I put it on because, again, it was really pretty. Plus, it matched my outfit. And I remember getting home and really thinking about it and going, okay, this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity for me. I can really buy into the significance of this, and really think about ways that I can become more honest, in spite of the fact that I always thought I was this really straightforward, direct person.
Right.
And the reality is that's who I wanted to be, but I'm not so sure that that's who I actually was.
Right.
And it was really a moment in time where I decided this is what I'm going to work towards moving forward.
And it's, that's cool though. I mean, I made fun of, the precious stems and the warlock or witch, whoever you got it from. She pulled it from her vagina or whatever the story was. But I do like when people are able to attach change to something.
Yeah.
Using something that is symbolic. And while that has not worked for me in the past, my change typically has come through stubbornness because failure annoys the shit out of me. But you would think I've gotten used to it at this time. Mm-hmm. But I like whenever you're able to take a defining moment and just go, I'm going to use this to change. Do you feel like, I mean, you think back on time, everything dwindles down to like a week in your life. But when you think back, was it a hard transition to start finding truthfulness? Finding truthfulness.
I'm not sure if it was hard because it was something I wanted. And so I was willing to put the work in. But here's what it really required. It did require a lot of work, meaning it required me to just first be honest with myself.
Which is huge.
And that's a hard thing to do. But the good news is you do that on your own. So any revelations you come up with, any statements that you make around honesty, any of those things that you discover, about yourself are in your own head. And so I had to do that. I had to really peel back the layers and really be 100% honest with myself and say, okay, what was causing me to actually project that as a person? And so that level of discovery was challenging for sure. And it took a lot of work and it took a lot of time. But it was also this really almost freeing moment. I know, again, that this sounds so very metaphysical and stuff, but it was a really freeing moment as well, because then it enabled me to really strive towards being that person as well. Right. And listen, it's bumpy road at first.
And we're all works in progress.
Yeah, 100%.
But the word you said, though, freeing is it. Like it took me some time to just kind of embrace who I was. Yeah. Like, I tell you something that was not me. Like, because I keep thinking back to this time in my life because I was young. And I think back, I never forget the fear of going into a bar by myself. The fear in that I don't want to look like an alcoholic. And that was a big part because...
Interesting.
Upright citizens don't do that. That's what drunks do. You're going to, and then, I was I was home taking care of my daughter because I left my job so I could be Mr. Mom. So I had no choice at that point because Sundays were the only time I could do that. And that really began to open my eyes and just going, stop giving a shit what other people think, and I think there is something very freeing in that being true to yourself. That is this huge, huge factor upon, I think it definitely comes with age where you get to the point where you're like, I just really don't give a shit what you think about your opinions, especially as they pertain to you personally and in your home.
Yeah.
But, you brought up a guy who it took me a moment to piece it together, our friend and his dating thing. Just for clarity's sake, the way that was pertaining is because he believed himself to be, and I'm just going to describe him as this very smart, very insightful, a bit enlightened person who was well dressed and put together and just needed a woman to give him a chance. And the truth of the matter is he was if those were all listed as 10s, he was 7s across the line on those things. Like, you're not as open-minded as you think you are. You're not as, quite honestly, even intelligence, because intelligence can be in very different ways. Like, you're very intelligent in your industry, but there's other times where we could be talking and it just seemed so detached from what the conversation was because he had not experienced enough things.
Right.
And so for you to think that you're this worldly individual and then you're going to attract this type of worldly woman, like, dude, you if you want to get her, you need to start making some changes. And it's not about getting in the gym, and all those very superficial things that men think that you so often have to do. It's what you were I guess we were both saying. Like, at some point in time, he needed to start doing some internal look at himself internally and just going, you know what? I am not who I think I am.
Yeah.
And so maybe just work on making yourself a better person or someone who would attract that person.
And that it's hard to do for sure. But listen, it's not necessary for everyone, right? There are some people who are like, no, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good with who I am. Yep. I'm good with how I handle myself. Totally fine.
Right.
That's totally fine. As long as you're not hurting another human being. That's, of course,
right.
That's totally fine. But I think when you're missing out on something that you yourself say that you actually want in your life, you need to start asking yourself those hard questions, which is, why am I not achieving that?
100%. And that's personal and professional, I would suspect.
And this is where I think that peeling back the layers and really, really being honest with yourself and actually saying to yourself, okay, am I this person? Am I really this person?
Exactly.
Because it's been a long time that I've wanted this, and it has not happened for 100%. Me. So am I really this person? And you said something which I think is accurate. This is also true professionally, right? Yeah. If you're the type of person who believes, I should be at this level in my career, okay, take a step back for just a moment and truly, truly think about the reasons why you are not.
Right.
And then figure out how to get there.
But they're also, let's not, truthfully, let's not be all Tony Robbins, though. There are going to be some other mitigating factors. I just think that a lot of times when it comes to personal relationships and professional things, people don't do enough. They do too much pointing instead of pointing at themselves.
Right.
And so maybe if you shift something in yourself personally, or just accept who you are. Yeah. Because for me, when I think about myself professionally, there were things that I had to accept over the last couple of years about who I am. Well, the biggest thing for me is, in the interest of disclosures, like it took me about 5 years ago where I realized as a writer, I'm horrible at pitching. I'm not good at selling myself. I'm just not. Like, I need a fucking Flavor Flav in my life. So if you out there, Flav, I heard you and Chuck had a falling out and shit, holla at your boy, because I just can't do that,
Right.
And for years I used to go, my work should stand on its own. Like, you should read. Cut the bullshit. You need to be able to sell yourself. I once worked for a writer who was fucking shitty and he stayed working. We sold scripts all the time and they never got made. Why? Because he was great at pitching.
Yeah.
He could tell you an amazing story, but he could never. So that's the thing. But it took me some years back to start going, dude, that's just not you. So you need to either figure out how to do it better.
Sure.
Or figure out what's in you that's making you so bad at it, because it's definitely not mastery of the English language or the ability to, engage people in a room. Like, if we're sitting in a bar, and hopefully you all feel engaged when you're listening to this, like, no, I can engage with people and have a good time, but something happens when it comes time to talk about myself, or I go, oh, well, yeah, it's, you start tripping over yourself. So I think a lot, like you were saying, professionally, you do need to do a self-exam. And this is, like I said, it's not Tony Robbins, some inspirational thing. I'm just big on looking at yourself. I don't ever want to be a fucking finished product. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where I just go, you know what, I'm good.
Yeah.
Some shit I'm not going to change. But, I want to be constantly evolving.
But that's kind of like what I was saying before. I mean, I do believe there are some people who are going to be like, no, I'm good. I'm good. But then I also think if there are things in your life that you believe should be happening for you because of who you are and they're not, you do have to kind of step back and go, okay, why? Yeah. Why? Or decide, nah, fuck it. I'm gonna switch direction. I'm gonna switch direction and not want that anymore and try this instead.
Yeah, just shift your focus or change your target. Like, but you think about, what you said is true. Like, there are I think the vast majority of people are gonna or just say that. Just go, you know what, I'm good. They'll make little changes here. I'm gonna try not to curse so much. I'm gonna lose a little bit of weight. That's not real change to who you are behaviorally. That's just how people are seeing you from the outside. But the interesting thing for me, if that's your approach, that I'm good, think about this. How different we are now versus when we first met. Because we've evolved. And we've always got, what we're doing now, we did the first times we hung out.
Yep.
We just didn't have a microphone set up. But the truth of the matter is, if we really begin to peel back the layers of our relationship, we have each changed. Where you end up going,
absolutely.
you know what? Damn, I didn't react to Uana properly, or dude, you got to let that shit go.
Right.
Or, you know what I mean? Or she's got to stop throwing away shit without telling me she's throwing it away. Like, she knows that drives me up a fucking wall.
Oh my God.
But
are we going to start listing the things? Because this is going to be a long episode
and
if we start listing.
No, let's not break
things.
up a happy home. No, I'm just saying, like, that idea that if you do recognize that you need to evolve to stay with the person, to continue growing as you get older and getting happier.
Yeah.
What the fuck makes you think you can stand around as an individual and just, I'm good. I don't need to change and adapt. And it's almost as though people feel like if they make any major changes in their life, like they're admitting failure. Like, if I stop being such a hothead about the silly things like something being thrown away, because you know those type of things drive me nuts. Like, if I suddenly start going, you know what? Don't overreact to such trivial things.
Right.
It doesn't mean those weren't true emotions 20 years ago. It just means like you just evolved, man. Like, hopefully you're changing. I mean, we both have. I know we have. You know, so
absolutely, change is good. Change is
Sometimes.
good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, as always, we'd love to hear from you. Tell us your story. Any story. We want to hear any story.
No,
really.
I would like to know.
Oh, please.
I'm going to be specific. I would like to know, what was the most difficult personal change you made about yourself? And this is not to be discrediting to like addiction and things of that nature, because those are much bigger topics that I would love to talk about it. But like, I'm thinking about in this instance, I just go, what was the hardest thing to overcome? And like, I feel like with me, that thing I was saying about trying to be bougie was just the tip of the iceberg about who I was as an individual. Sure. Because the whole iceberg was just embracing who I was,
right?
Where I was from, what my family was, like, and just embracing and loving the hell out of it. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I like the idea of people, if they want to talk about it, I'd love to.
Yep.
Get you a drink. I'll buy you a drink.
Yeah. We'll do a follow-up because I think that would be awesome conversation.
Sounds good.
Thanks, everybody, for joining.
See you next time.
Thanks for joining Drinks with My Wife. Please be sure to click the subscribe button and rate us on Apple Podcast and Spotify.